Hi and welcome to the Lightleaders, a podcast for lightworkers and conscious entrepreneurs who are passionate about raising the consciousness of our planet and take action to make it happen. I'm your host, Alexis Lember, and I believe that we are currently in the middle of a global awakening of humanity, that right now is the time for heart-centered conscious people to step into our power so we can replace the old paradigm and bring the conscious new earth into manifestation. So here, I'll interview a variety of people who lead this movement of creating this new earth, whether they do it through a meditation course, a conscious podcast, or an ethical cryptocurrency. I call them light leaders. If you resonate with our mission, please help us spread the message by sharing this podcast. We're having more and more content getting censored, so we need your help. Make sure to stay in touch also by registering to our newsletter on thelightleaders.org. If you hear little nuggets you love and you'd like to share, screenshot this episode and share on your Instagram stories, make sure to tag us at the Lightleaders podcast and we will repost. Do you know what is probably the most valuable resource in the modern world? It's your data. Companies like Facebook, Apple, or Google, they're worth hundreds of billions of dollars because they spy on you 24/7, collect everything they can about you, and sell your data to advertisers. They also use this data against you to get you addicted to their platforms, so you spend more time on your screen and more to censor certain opinions and whistleblowers. Now, what to do? Well, I always prefer to look at solutions. And there is a phone that runs on its own operating system that is based on encrypted blockchain technology, not Google or Apple. It's called the Clear Phone. With the Clear Phone, you own your data and choose what you want to share with apps and service providers and potentially be rewarded financially for agreeing to share your data. To learn more, visit thelightleaders.org/clearphone, and you can also become a brand ambassador for them like I am. Hi and welcome to this new episode of The Light Leaders. Today I'm with Comet, who is a healer, mentor, and activation practitioner for empowered female leaders to eradicate limiting beliefs, liberate their true voice, and step into their gifts for holistic health, wealth, and freedom. She's a sound healer, voice activator, and shamanic breathing facilitator with a focus on women's circles, transformational group journeys, and working in a close partnership with Rise and Shine parties and retreats, a pioneering international brand of sober parties for healing entertainment founded by her partner, Anthony Lawther. Comet, welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. So good to be here.
I have a question for you to start with.
Beautiful.
What are you grateful for today?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I mean, I woke up in a glorious sunshining day this morning to hugs and kisses from my partner and my dog, and I just explored around barefoot on my bike, and I'm free to just enjoy my days and connect with beautiful, like-hearted souls like yourself and enjoy beautiful chats.
So as we start, I always like to give background to the listener, and I'm really interested in what's your vision for the world, your greater why, and how your activities and your business help bring that vision into manifestation.
Beautiful. Yeah. My why. Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, what's your your why, like what motivates you
Okay.
in the world?
My why, what motivates me? Ultimately, I think my biggest motivator is the challenges I think that I went through in my earlier life, in my childhood, in my upbringing, the challenges that I still experience today with my family, and experiencing, the suffering of disconnection. And that's my why. I've experienced such a transformation in my life through connection to myself, deepening my connection to myself, and nature all around me, and through any form of connection in my life, I deepen connection with other beings, with my purpose, with my service and my reason for being here. So yeah, I just want to help other people that may be suffering through challenges of disconnection and come into that place of empowerment through connection.
And how do you help them currently to fulfill that beautiful mission?
Yeah, beautiful. So my biggest focus right now is on voice activation and liberating your true authentic voice. And when I say your true authentic voice, the voice is so much more than the words we speak, and getting someone to be able to just speak more. But the voice, or at least my own voice liberation journey, began actually through 10 days of silence with myself, through Vipassana, that I speak of very fondly to many people while our journey starts.
How many times have you done Vipassana?
Only one time. And that I very much want to be back. When I experienced that, I did set this commitment to do that at least once every year.
Same.
It was 3 years ago now.
It was 2 years ago for me.
Yes. And you just get swept away with life, so I still have that intention though. Yeah,
I'm back this year. There's one in Bali.
Oh, beautiful. Anthony and I, my partner, we recently discussed perhaps doing one together when we return from this big trip that we're about to go on, spreading light through London.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so voice activation, in what way? Through singing, through poetry, through speaking on social media? Like, do you have a preferred way when you talk about liberating your voice?
Definitely, I have preferred methods. But as you would know, practices and methods are just limitless. But my primary focus with people is it's so unique to the individual, right?
So it's finding their own way.
It's finding that person, what is their unique struggle, and then finding ways. But for example, in a voice activation journey, we will explore the inner world. We'll explore limiting beliefs. I'll explore that person's, what's their true desires. And you wouldn't believe that with most clients, and I work a lot with healers and leaders, experts in their field, or aspiring healers and leaders. And what I often find is that the biggest indicator of a blocked or imbalanced the throat chakra is that they can't actually express their truest desires. And so I'll explore that. And when people can't express their truest desires, then we can actually find that there are limiting beliefs there. A lot of people have very low expectations. And then we'll dive into that through inner exploration, inner child trauma as well. We'll do, some people might call that shadow work. And then we'll explore releasing their voice. And I just hold that safe space. And I hold quite a powerful reflection for them to really dive in deeper. What is their truest, deepest desires? Or what boundaries are they not setting in their life? Where are they outpouring energy? And we take it from there. So a lot is inner work. And then, yes, also lots of vocal practices. Yes, the physical, that's like the physical aspect of the vocal activation. A lot of people have limitation in how they use their voice. And most people that are leaders that share their voice a lot don't have a powerful connection with their voice. They often will say, oh, I'm not a singer, or I can't sing. And they actually have a pull away effect when they think about using their voice in all the ways that they are absolutely perfectly capable of using it. So I help rebuild that connection to the most powerful tool that they have for creating and magnetizing the world of their dreams.
I'm excited to have you, Comet. That's definitely been part of my journey. As a leader, I started speaking on social media. That really helped me. And then going more into singing, recently doing more poetry, and even often when I'm at plant ceremonies, I can feel inside of me like there's something that wants to sing, to express, and then magically goes away when the shame of the judgment and the mind goes away, or in other circumstances too.
Yeah.
So it's been a big part of my journey, and I'm sure of a lot of people. So super interesting to dive into how to liberate your voice. I feel such a important for the person as personal development. I also feel in the world we live in today, that's something very needed for the world. I really want more and more people to go out and speak their truth, sing their songs. So thank you for that. I'd love to give a bit of your story, share a bit your story with the listener, especially what drew you towards being passionate about helping people share their voice. I know often it comes from a personal story that you want to share that helped you, and maybe you want to share with people. So do you want to give a bit of background about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess you could say I grew up in poverty. I guess the first world version of poverty. Single mother who did an incredible job of raising 4 children on her own. A mother by the age of 19, she had her first child. And I guess poverty for us was struggling to have enough food in the fridge to get by. It was constant struggle and stress for her to pay the bills. She was working 3 jobs just to get by. And yeah, by the time I was the youngest of the family, and by the time I got into school, then she put herself through university to get a better job, to create a better life for us. But, you know, growing up in that kind of domestic environment, there was a lot of stress on my mother. And I think through that, very unintentionally, she's a very, very deeply loving soul. There was a lot of toxicity and dysfunction that played out in our household, which certainly led to me. I feel that I was a deep feeler as a child. And there was really just no one there to hold that space for me, to witness me and hold me in that. And there was a lot of energy, a lot of emotion that got deeply suppressed. And then, of course, naturally, I think we all experience a lot of blockage in our voice just through the things that are deemed normal in life, like going to school, conforming in a uniform and being told to sit down, shut up, do this, do that, speak when spoken to, blah, blah, blah. And we experience that most people experience that for the first 15 years of their life. So in so many ways, we're just controlled and restricted. And that home life, there was lots of really wonderful, beautiful memories that I hold very dear to my heart. But my struggles with my mom continued right through to my early teens, when I reached a breaking point at the age of 15. And in one of our regular disagreements, I was often kicked out of home, and it was often the argument, I pay your bills, I put the roof over your head. And at the wise old age of 15, I decided, well, I'll put the roof over my head and I'll pay my own bills. And so I left, and I tried to stay in school, but obviously finances proved to be a little bit more important than study. And so I started working full-time, mostly from the age of 15, to support myself. I can carry on a little deeper into that if you want.
Yeah.
I guess I'll give the quick overview up to now.
Actually also, you were part of a book I released a year and a half ago called The New Wave. And if people want to dive even more into your story, you share quite a lot there.
Yeah. I guess experiencing that, I consider myself lucky. I have a lot of gratitude for that life experience. Because from 15, I was thrown in the deep end. I had no choice but to be independent, but to find solutions. And I was my only person I could rely on. And I think that faced with that, you have one of two ways. Some people journey through a darker path. I certainly did double for many years. I actually I smoked crystal meth for a year at the age of 16, 17. But I still had to work and eat. So I think that being the only person I could rely on at that time is actually probably what pulled me through that experience. I still worked. I still always showed up to work. And took care of, got my basics always covered before I went and partied on the weekends and experienced that.
And that was all in Australia.
That was all in Australia, yeah. And then for many years, I was strong, independent, but I would take any work I could get. I didn't know my value at this point. I was a little kid and I would take any work, minimum wage. And for me, the only way that I knew how to make money was working more hours. So I would take a second job, a third job.
Did you have a aha moment that changed that?
Did I have a...
Like an aha moment, a specific moment when something clicked?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was amazing that by the age of 21, I'd been a dental nurse for a couple of years, which was an awesome job. Absolutely loved it. But being a natural, instinctive leader and independent, I got put in supervisory roles. And so by 21, I became a manager of a private medical practice. And about a year or two into that job, I actually got given an opportunity. I got offered a promotion. And in this job, for the age of 21 to be earning over $50,000 a year, while most of my friends were broke and studying in university, and most of them come out of university not even earning, 30, 40K. I was doing really well for myself. And I got offered this promotion, but it was a stressful job. And I was very young. And I was like this middleman between this global corporate and doctors, these older adults that had studied, that were their own bosses. And so that was quite a stressful position. And I was served this opportunity to take more money and work harder. And by that point, I was at this beautifully young age. I was like, I'm overworked and I'm stressed out and I've been doing this for far too long. And I threw caution to the wind and I declined the promotion and I quit and decided to go and live in Hawaii for 3 months and just connect back to nature. And that's where I started to really connect and understand with what truly mattered in life. And it was nature, and it was climbing mountains, and it was showering in waterfalls, and it was swimming in the oceans.
Was that before Vipassana?
Yes. Yeah. And, but still I was young and I didn't know what the opportunities were. And I came back to Australia in a little bit of debt. And I just went back to what I knew. I took another stressful corporate job just to make the money and suffered there for, I think, about 9 months before I realized, no, I need to change this. And again, I had to really throw caution to the wind. I had to really let go. I had to face some demons. And I chose to take a job in a gym and study fitness. This was the only thing that was available to me in my consciousness, in my field of people. Healing, pursuing healing as a career was just not even in my consciousness at the time.
You thought, okay, I want to be in that healing space.
What could I do? I didn't consider it healing at the time. Or perhaps, maybe I didn't use the word healing, but I wanted to be physically fit and take care of my mental health and wellness, and a paycheck and my happiness and joy, they didn't compare.
I feel it's a doorway often to spirituality and personal development is fitness.
100%.
Like people start going to the gym, taking care of themselves, prioritizing their health.
Yes, because everything is connected. I often hear that some people are like, you can't change your life by only changing the external, or you can't change your life by only changing the internal. Some people think it's one way or the other. It's not. It doesn't matter. Any small change is going to impact change.
And your current partner's a personal trainer also, right?
My current partner has, he's been a physique trainer since he was very young. His father was heavily into training. So he's been a fitness enthusiast since he was such a young child. And naturally that got him into modeling, physique modeling. And what started out as something very unhealthy did also progress into something very healthy.
I want to go back to liberating your voice also. And so you talked about Vipassana that helped you. Like what were those steps to liberating your voice?
Yeah, so ultimately I was in this job in the gym, and I'd finished my qualification as a fitness trainer, and I was about to pursue that career, and then actually it was my father passing. He took his own life by suicide. that catapulted me on this whole different journey. But it wasn't until about a year later. I hadn't spoken about this loss to anybody. I hadn't even spoken to myself about it. I never journaled about it. I never connected. So there was no voice happening there. It was just...
You repressed it?
Yeah, not intentionally. You know, I thought I was fine. I was so independent. I never had anyone to talk to about my problems. You know, I took care of me. I was always this happy, bubbly, outgoing, friendly person, you know, that could always take care of herself. But, you know, a year after his passing, I broke down at work and I couldn't hold back this gasping for air and these outpouring tears. And I just didn't know what had taken hold of me. And I'd heard of Vipassana and I'd had this intention to go, and it was this breakdown that was the final push that I needed. And it was the day after that I booked in for Vipassana as soon as I could get the 10 days off work, which was a couple months later. And it was a couple days into Vipassana. The first few days was a struggle, a massive, massive struggle. And then I had this massive aha moment where I was sitting there, maybe 5 hours into meditating for that day out of the 10 hours a day that we do. And my body just burst and I cried again. And it was just that I was sitting there with myself, diving, you know, with all of this past, all of my life flashing before my eyes. And it was very confronting for me to be with myself and witness that what was taking up most of the space in my mind was the most petty, insignificant things. And that was what made me break down and cry, because I'm sitting here giving time to myself for the first time in my life. And it was like, ooh, Tracy looked at me funny the other day at work. And why did my boss say that to me? And why did my mom and my sister do that to me 15 years ago? And it was just this constant what people had done to me and why it was hurting me. And then I ran through relationships and it was confronting. And I had to realize, oh my God, like what a small mind this is, you know? But it was so beautiful at the same time, because that's what catapulted me to start tending to the garden of my mind and I set that intention to start thinking of big ideas, and I wanted to have bigger conversations, and I wanted to be around bigger, better people that weren't doing all these little, you know, that actually does matter, you know, these little things that I called insignificant. You know, I also realized I need to start putting better people in my life and choosing better workplaces. And so it was diving inward and meeting myself, which is when my voice truly began to flourish. And then it was the final moments of that Vipassana journey. For 5 minutes, we had to meditate on Metta Bhavana, which was loving gratitude. And we had to choose something external in our life that we had such loving gratitude for. And they said, okay, now turn that energy inward. And I was 24 years old, 25. Gosh, time flies. Okay, I was 25 years old, and it was 4 years ago now. And I had never, by anyone, been told to turn my own loving kindness and gratitude inward. So this was a first experience for me. So feeling that for the first time, I burst into tears. And then I just witnessed magic occur throughout my life over the next few months. Connections deepened with the people around me. I could finally meet people as deeply as I'd met myself. And I just, this link snapped in place. Pieces of the puzzle just started connecting, and it was just connection. I understood that all the cause of all my misery in my life was from disconnection, and that I could facilitate the connection all around me through connection to myself.
Wow, that's powerful story for sure. It's so ironic how you found your voice through silence.
Yes, yeah.
And I'd be curious then how you activated it, how you brought that into the world.
Wow. I would say that again, a big part of the voice activation was actually honoring what I truly needed, wanted, and desired. 6 months later, I had a 5-week trip planned, and I really didn't want to live the life that I was living, working this job for a boss that didn't value me, making decent pay, but it was immediate. I wasn't making any positive impact. I wasn't changing lives. And it began with this trip when I quit that job and I decided to travel for 6 months. And then that 6 months turned into where I am now 3 years later, still living in Bali. So it started there. You know, your voice is like also what you choose to do, how you live your life, what you seek, knowing your desires. Yeah. But the biggest part of my actual voice activation, unlocking, you know, my shamanic healing voice, that occurred naturally when I was living a life that was in alignment with what truly brought me joy, passion, purpose, surrounded by amazing people, doing what truly brought me joy. And then anything voice activating just magnetized into my life. And the biggest moments for me, I decided to do a shamanic breathing facilitation training. And of course, when you're living in alignment in all these beautiful, amazing energies, that day or that week that I decided to do that, I met someone in a cafe who said he knew someone who was teaching it. And I met her and she was just amazing. And she was teaching a shamanic breathing facilitation training that included voice activation for sound healing. I was like, amazing, I will do that. And the moment that I chose to do that, I went a ceremony that I joined that weekend that was completely different experience. I had a physical voice activation experience within me. So in circle, in ceremony, in an all women ceremony, we were sitting there in deep, deep, deep prayer and meditation and song. And I went through this writhing pain in my body experience that facilitated then this explosion of energy in my voice. And I began singing. And I sang numerous songs in that ceremony. I actually carried the ceremony somewhat through singing. And then everything exploded from there. So it was this inner voice activation through my inner understandings of myself, which came into my voice activation of choosing the life that I wanted to live and creating the world outside of me, to the voice activation within my own vocal cords. And then I started to connect with, you know, the expanding life force energy of what voice activation truly is. Started connecting with the energy and understanding how I can create this energetic field inside of me, and that the voice is externalizing. It's the most powerful way of externalizing the inner energetic field, you know, through communication and through sound, and then through deep breath. You know, to sing is to take big, long, deep inhalations with long, soothing exhalations, which is so powerfully healing for the nervous system, which helps then heal trauma and suppressed emotions. And I mean, it just goes so far from there. Yeah, very quickly, it was within a couple of months that I was teaching voice activations for people with this now new, very holistic, personal life experience and understanding. You know, I can help people bypass the 10 years or 20 years that it took me, and I can take them on a journey now to unlocking their voice in a very holistic way.
What are the ways you help people unlock their voices? Like common ways.
So I find that some of the most powerful tools are actually sound healing practices. And in sound healing practices, first, especially for women, we hold so much energy blockage. A lot of our voice actually stems from blockage in our yoni, in our womb space. That's where our intuition begins, and they're actually divinely connected, those two. And it's when we don't honor our emotions and our intuition and our boundaries and knowing our full body fuck yes, that we actually, that's somewhat an original cause of the blockage in our throats. So I do a lot of breathing techniques and practices with a lot of full body movement, a lot of orgasmic and sexual energy play as well. This is, you know, with women online, you know, and so it's a lot of people think of sexual energy. Actually, I think anyone here on the Lightleaders show is going to understand sexual energy a bit deeper.
And we've had a lot of the top Tantra masters of the world.
Beautiful. So we explore practices with the voice and with breath and with the body of exploring that once again. Because a lot of us, I explore also playful, childlike noises, and we just liberate the voice. It's baby steps, it's slow and sure, but a lot of people don't use their voice and don't explore their voice and understand all the ways that they can use their voice. And I just start facilitating that relationship again. It's a relationship. It's a relationship to the breath, to the muscles, to the body, to the sensations in the body. And then emotions can arise, and naturally people will want to suppress that. They feel uncomfortable making certain noises, because we all had that experience. I think most of us as children, when we're just playing, making funny noises like, and we were told to sit down, shut up, be quiet, inside voice. And there's so much energy blockage there. And so even just making these noises, I work with people, and we actually achieve states of pure ecstasy and orgasm through breath and through sound. I can actually facilitate people achieving full body orgasms through breath and sound, which is profound and very rewarding work. Yeah.
It's interesting also how before this episode I told you about how I find you very vulnerable in the way you share your story and very open. And I definitely feel that a lot of liberating your voice, it's from removing the shame of showing who you are in a way. At least it's definitely been for me, for singing, for expressing pleasure and making sounds. There's that relationship with, there's a conditioning of shame around it that needs to be uncovered before I allow. It's almost like, you need to allow that voice to be expressed. And that's a deep journey through shame that you mentioned.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up. The shame and embarrassment part, a lot of people don't recognize that anything that you are not sharing with the world, you are keeping in the dark inside of you. Just by not sharing it means that there is shame or embarrassment around that thing. And so a lot of the work that I do with women is reminding them that there is no part of them that is unworthy of love. And so we work on bringing all of those aspects of that's disconnection. That's compartmentalizing. Like, these parts of me are amazing and wonderful, and I'll share those parts and we'll love those parts. And then we're going to not talk about these parts, and we're going to keep these other parts hidden from the world in the darkness. And that is only stemming from a place of fear, shame, or embarrassment. And that energy, and what we understand, what we start to learn when we deepen this relationship and start building more love inside, is that whatever we're putting out, everybody's psychic intuitive. Everyone, whether it doesn't matter how hard you're trying to hide it, that shame and embarrassment, that energy is in your field. People will feel it. People will sense it. It will play out. It will play out in the tones of your voice when you have interactions, when you have conflict. It plays out in every area of the life. So I do work a lot on bringing those aspects into the light.
Did you personally have some realizations around that, where you felt that realization unlocked your voice?
Huge realizations. I mean, authentic relating practices for me have been so deeply healing for me, to uncover and witness the more raw, the more authentic, the more honest that we can be with our own personal life experiences, the more deeply we can connect with people. There are so many people suffering in that shame and feeling that they're not worthy, that they can't express themselves. And just by fully expressing ourselves, we liberate people. We give them the permission that they are also worthy of love. And one of the biggest things, I can change people's. I've had experience with changing the course of people's entire lives just through one session.
And did you have personally, one of these realizations where you were like, okay, that's something I'm having shame around? And when you realize
absolutely,
that,
like we said before, even with my father passing, taking his life by suicide, and for 1 year, I didn't talk about that with anyone. I felt like a burden to people, and that's shame or embarrassment about having feelings, having, you know, not being strong enough to work through my own emotions. And so I didn't talk to people about that because that stems from fear of people won't know how to hold space for me if I talk to them about what I'm going through. Fear of losing friends if I was emotional or crying or couldn't hold my own.
Okay.
And it was through that journey, the more I actually found that I actually talked about that experience. I mean, I used to not be able to talk about my relationship with my father and what happened or my childhood without crying. And now, because I've deepened my relationship with that, I now see those experiences with love and gratitude. And now people feel that love and gratitude deeply when I express myself. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I definitely feel that there's, that it's almost looking also, it really resonates the, okay, if I show my emotions, will people accept me, for example? It's a very interesting one. And I felt, for me, whether it's singing or speaking on social media, a lot of the things that were holding me back from expressing my voice and liberating my voice was what others would think of me.
That is the number one thing that I remind people. So I teach women now how to hold space, facilitate space. My main focus now is teaching empowered female leaders and healers how to make more positive impact and more money now. And something that I teach them is it's important to know that the number one fear that people have is a fear of embarrassing themselves in front of their peers. So it's so important for us as light leaders, as facilitators, that we can show them that there's nothing to ever be embarrassed or ashamed about. So through me sharing my deepest and darkest to my women in my spaces, gives them the permission to dive in. So I dive in the deep end first, in the dark, shadowy deep end, and share my challenges, my struggles, my nittiest and grittiest of who I am. I share about my anxieties. I share about my struggles. And then I show them, like, look, it's okay. And yet here I am creating abundance and making positive impact and doing all these amazing, wonderful things and being loved and calling in like my version of heaven on earth through owning these challenges. And I was going to touch briefly on, a lot of people are holding themselves back with that shame, around the parts of themselves that they feel are unworthy. And I want to give an example of this. One very dear friend who's just this shining bright light. She was working to be a coach and she was working under some people and it just wasn't happening for her. She was struggling a lot financially. And I just really wondered, I was so deeply curious, how can this stunningly radiant woman, she was radiant, just that inner beauty of just joy in her voice and this love for life, and everything that came out was just gratitude and wisdom. And she was experiencing these big blocks in finding clients for mentorship. And she called me one day and she was like, I need you to come over. I'm breaking down. Please come and help me. I raced over there with some cacao, which I sang to and cooked up and served to her. I was like, hey, what's going on? And she shared with me and expressed to me, as the first person that she shared this with, besides her current mentors and coaches that she was working under, that she was a victim of incest in her family home. And she was still such a victim of this past trauma. While she was living, she was free from it. She was living away from her family. She felt just such an attachment to protecting her perpetrators, and she never expressed it. And for me, I understand deeply that our biggest life challenges and our biggest life mess and traumas, it's in our power to alchemize that to gold. That's our biggest power as the gods and creators of our world, is to take the shit in our lives and turn it into gold. And we have that power. And in one sentence, I expressed to her, I mean, as a coach and as a leader, I mean, do you not see that the people that you have the power of helping most are the people that suffered everything that you suffered? You know what they're feeling. You know what they need to hear. And that your primary audience are you. Anyone in your life, like people that experience what you experience who cannot be happy and joyful and grateful and bright and bubbly, you can show them the way. You can show them that there's a better life to live. And she was like, wow. She was on a plane back home the next week, and now she's I just spoke to her earlier today. I am Grateful Grace on Instagram is her name. And she is now doing public speaking on the topic. She was doing some coaching on it. Now she's moved into bigger public speaking. She's now applied to go into a pageant, and she was against pageants, but now she realizes that through pageantry, she can reach a larger audience of people who suffer through this. And
Pageants?
Pageants?
What is it?
Pageants are, where you get all glummed up and,
Oh, yeah.
you're Miss USA. I don't know how else
Ah,
to
okay,
describe
okay.
it,
I see it now. Yeah.
and she's just liberated now, owning who she is, owning her life experience, and using that as her power, as her gift and her medicine to serve the world.
Yeah, it's such an interesting topic. So it's mainly, I'm almost thinking of what we discussed, mainly liberating your voice through owning your experience, or through accepting every part.
Yes.
Yeah, through removing shame.
We are whole beings. And if we try to separate parts of ourselves, separate parts of our history, this is disconnection. This is trying to, this is very impactful to our energetic field, to our being as a whole. And the more that we can integrate and assimilate our whole entire being and accept and love ourselves, we know and own our truth. Our past is part of our truth. But the truth is malleable. We get to choose which perspective we see that truth from. And that's what voice activation is about. The liberation is accessing the different perspectives, accessing the higher consciousness, seeing the lessons, and choosing what are we going to make of this as the God and creator of our world. How and then expressing ourselves from an empowered place, like leaving that victim mentality of these things happen to me, or I'm that way because of this reason, and actually just accepting, oh, I'm that way for this reason, but now I get to choose who I want to be, and because of that I'm here on this path, and turning that into gratitude and communicating that with people, and then guiding people. Voice activation it's not just about talking, it's not about the voice, but it's about embodiment. It's holistic. It's about living, practicing what you preach, preaching what you practice, and being ultimately connected in all of that.
It's almost the consequence and the next step of that acceptance and self-love that results in expressing yourself, rather than because I thought maybe we would talk about liberating your voice. You can sing, or you can talk on social media, or you can start your podcast.
Much
but actually,
deeper than that.
This is actually only the consequence of it that almost blossoms from those resolutions.
Yeah, like that's a shallow aspect. That's just this single. That's like saying, it's the tip of the iceberg. Is showing up and just speak, just do it. But, there's a difference between, you can teach someone how to public speak, and they're going to show up in public speak and they're going to say all the right words, but they might still experience this deep and profound anxiety. They might share, but won't be met by the soul-aligned clients or the audience that they're trying to reach, because they're not embodying their energy. They'll only pull like more disconnected, kind of like the same energy fields that they're emitting, of people that aren't really fully, if you're not fully showing up for yourself, you're not going to call in people into your space that are fully showing up for themselves. And that's just asking for trouble and more challenge in life.
Thanks, Comet. We're going to approach the end of this episode.
Wow, time flies.
It was super interesting, and I'd love to know a bit what's next for you and how people can follow you.
Beautiful. Gosh, so much. As you know, I'm flying out in just 2 days. My partner and I have teamed up closely on this phenomenal healing entertainment event that he's created that's been running for a few years now, Rise and Shine Parties, which originated in London, and it's taken off. It was the idea, the concept of it is to provide a healthy alternative to your Saturday night out. There's so much health and healing and people going out and gathering and dancing and listening to music, but unfortunately that if we're intoxicating ourselves, in that experience, we're eliminating all the positive aspects of that experience. So with Rise and Shine parties, the alcohol has been removed. And it's a fun, healthy party. You show up, there's a opening ceremony, guided meditations, and performing artists, then amazing DJs, 100% alcohol-free, high vibe bar with healthy tonics and elixirs.
Cacao.
And cacao, of course, heart opening cacao, and closing ceremonies. It's just phenomenal. And that kicked off. We'll run retreats with that. So we're going to be taking all of this phenomenal, amazing energy that we've been able to cultivate through this beautiful life that we live here in Bali, and go over to England, and it's starting to open up now. So we have so many people. I think a lot of people had to face their demons throughout these lockdowns. And a lot of people are waking up to the light, and they're realizing, wow, I don't want to do this anymore. And they're looking for the healthy alternatives. So we've launched a couple of events. We're making record ticket sales. It's going to be amazing. I'm going to be leading a lot of women's circles, ladies' lunches, voice activation ceremonies, women's ceremonies, workshops, just so many things over there. How can people find that? You can find me on Instagram under They Call Me Comet. You can find Rise and Shine Parties on Instagram, and my partner Anthlauder on Instagram. Anthlauder, I think it is. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and thank you for doing this work. I think in the world we live in right now, and with what's happening in the world, it's really important that you help others express and liberate their voice. I think we need more people to liberate their voice, to express themselves, and have more leaders, right? That's why I call these the light leaders. Unfortunately, I feel a lot of people are doing what they're told and following certain conditioning and staying small. Don't dare to speak their truths, to sing their songs. And that actually has a lot of the causes of why we see, I think, some parts of the world being very, very controlled in a way. So I do personally think liberating your voice is such an important thing to do for yourself as a person, but also for society in general. Like I want to live in a world where people, even if they're unsure, even if they have some shame, even if they have their doubt, have that courage. And so thank you so much for having that mission to inspire and help more people to do that.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more with you. We'll fight to the end of our days to liberate people in their voice and their freedom, and build heaven on earth through love and freedom, not through fear and separation.
Do you have a last word for our listener?
I love you. Thank you so much for being here, for listening, and for everything that you do, for just being you. And every single part of you deserves love. Never forget that.
Thank you so much, Comet. Thank you to everyone who listened. Thank you for taking some of your precious time to listen to this podcast. If you stayed until the end, I assume it was insightful. So if you like this podcast, please share with friends. Remember that if you tag us in your Instagram story at the Lightleaders podcast, we will repost. Tell us what you've learned. You can also leave a review on your favorite podcast platform. Now, if you want to stay posted about new podcast releases, especially as we get censored more and more on big tech platforms, make sure to join our newsletter and our Telegram. You'll find the links on thelightleaders.org, and feel free to contact me directly too, whether it's for feedback or potential collaborations. Thank you again, and let's co-create the conscious new earth together. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and to subscribe to my channel.